In this video, we will demonstrate the user interface controls found in Whitacre Contrast. This video in particular will focus on the Synth interface. Starting in the top left corner of the plugin, we have the LED light, which indicates if the samples are still loading or fully loaded. This should be solid green before you hit play. To the right of this is the CPU meter, which indicates how hard the processor on your machine is working. Next along is the disk meter, which indicates how hard the disk we are streaming the samples from is working. Next we have the memory meter, which tells us how much sample content has been preloaded into RAM. The voices meter shows us the number of audio threads being streamed at any point. Next we have the refresh icon. Clicking on this will refresh the individual plugin instance, whilst right-clicking will allow you to choose refresh all loaded instances of the plugin in your project, among other options. This is useful for hanging or stuck MIDI notes in particular. To the right of this, we have the mode switching option, which is where we can choose between the standard interface view and the synth and grid views. Next, we have the MIDI channel selector. This defaults to any, but you can choose a specific channel for this plugin using the drop-down menu. Next are the tuning and panning controls, as well as the master volume control for the output of the plugin. Next along we have the two settings menus for the library. Under the ellipsis we have the settings that will be applied on a per preset basis, and under the cogwheel, the global settings that will be applied to the entire library. More information on these settings can be found in the user manual. In the top half of the plugin interface, you can find your preset details and basic parameter controls. To access your preset selection list, click on this downward arrow. You can filter these on the left by using the group buttons, or you can create your own starred or favorites group by clicking on the star in front of your chosen preset, then clicking on starred. The play buttons preview the sounds that will load with this preset, and these arrows cycle through to the next presets. The filters on the right are the mode filters, which allow you to filter the patches per mode for much faster navigation between modes. This will default, of course, to the mode you're on, but you can change this to show the presets available in one of the other modes. Choosing one of these and loading it will automatically switch you to the new mode. So let's reverse that, choose a preset in our current mode, and either double-click the preset name or click on load. The two faders here control expression, which is essentially the volume of the loaded instrument or technique, and a crossfader for the mixer in the next section, which is the control for the mix between the sounds loaded in the two sound bays below. The smart knob here can be used to control the various different effects we have available for this library, which can also be configured in the effects view we will cover momentarily. These are all MIDI assignable, with expression and crossfader having default CC assignments. In the bottom half of the plugin we have three different views: the sound bays, the effects, and the gate sequencer. Starting with the sound bays view, we can see two separate bays, Sound Bay A and Sound Bay B. These are independent and each have their own separate controls and loading options. Each sound bay has its own preset list where you can filter, star, and preview sounds as you can with the main preset list for the plugin. For each, you also have three main controls: a speaker icon, which will mute or unmute the sound bay, a set of arrow keys that will cycle through the presets, and an unload button, which will completely remove the current preset in the sound bay. Below this, we have three oscillators for each sound bay: volume, pitch, and filter. The frequency of each oscillator can be controlled by clicking and dragging your mouse left or right. The amount that each oscillator affects the sound bay can be set by dragging the scroll bar on the right of each oscillator up or down. Below this oscillator section we have the filters and envelopes. The available filters are high and low pass, with the cutoffs controlled by selecting and dragging the curve, or by using the smart knob above and selecting the relevant parameter. The resonance of the cutoff point can be set by moving the slider underneath the filter. The ADSR controllers allow you to set the attack, decay, sustain and release within each sound bay. Attack controls the time it takes for the sound to fade in from 0. Delay controls the time it takes for the sound to decay from the peak level to the sustain level, set by the sustain control alongside. And release controls the time it takes for the sound to reach 0 after releasing keys. Below this we have tune, pan, offset and trim controls, allowing you to control overall pitch, stereo field position, note range and overall level for the specific sound source loaded in the sound bay. Next to this we have glide, which controls the portamento of the sound. And when enabled, bend control is no longer available and glide level can then be adjusted by moving this slider. The bend control, when available, allows you to adjust the depth amount applied using the left-hand slider and the amount of pitch variation using the right-hand slider. This clone option, when enabled, triggers an additional clone of the signal transposed from the original note. The left-hand slider then controls the tone, in tones or semitones, whilst the right-hand slider works as a fine-tuning control. At the bottom we have a mixer, which allows you to create a mix between sound bay A and sound bay B. This oscillate mixer option will set the mixer to oscillate in time with your DAW. This can be further adjusted by using the up and down arrows here. Stop on release when selected will stop oscillation of the mixer if mixer oscillation is also selected when all notes are released. The wave icons to the right of the mixer allows you to choose the wave shape the mixer will oscillate at, with the slider below allowing you to select the point in the wave cycle that you want the oscillation to start at. Next we have the effects view. Here we're able to access different effects. There are 2 effects channels specific to each sound bay. If you should wish to use any effects available to sound bay A on sound bay B, you would need to reverse the synth engine around. We do this by clicking back into the sound bays view and clicking this reverse button. More information on the available effects can be found in the manual for this library. Next we have the aux effects. In order to apply these to either of the 2 sound bays, you will need to turn on the aux option in the relevant sound bay. Turning this on in both will of course apply these effects to both sound bays. The aux effects offer more traditional send-based effects, like delays and reverbs. In contrast, the master effects offers effects you would usually associate with mixed-based processing. You can also use aux effects on the master effects page by enabling the aux option here. Once again, all detail on the available effects here can be found in the library manual. The final view is the gate sequencer view. The sequencer features an on-off switch at the top. Below this you can program the rhythm for each sound bay by selecting the boxes in the sequencer. The top row is for sound bay A and the bottom row is for sound bay B. The sequence length can be changed by moving the length slider here, and you can change the speed by using these arrows on the left-hand side. You can also reverse the patterns between each sound bay by using the reverse button here on the right. The depth slider here controls how much of the signal is affected by this gate sequencer, whilst the smooth in slider allows you to create a fade on the beginning of each step, and the smooth out slider allows you to create a fade at the end of each step. The stop on release button here, when enabled, will stop the gate sequencer when all notes are released. And enabling the after layer effects option will allow you to place this sequencer after the FX instead of before. If you have any further questions about Eric Whitacre Contrast Synth Mode, please do reach out to our support team at spitfireaudio.com/support.
Thanks for watching Spitfire Clips. Let us know if it was too long, too short, too fast or too slow in the comments down below. Hit like if we answered your question and subscribe for more clips, tips, tricks, and exclusive Spitfire content.